So
Yeah.
funny. All right, well, let's get started.
Let's go.
So everybody, welcome to No BS with BS. So this is a webinar geared towards stay-at-home moms to become confident, empowered, and to plan for their future, to get ready for the future. So that's what we're all about. We want you to become the best version of yourself. I'm Betsy Martell, and this is Steve Noctigal. So just quick introductions for both of us. I'm a mother of four and two dogs, four human beings and two dogs. And I'm a personal trainer and a life coach. And Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, I actually have three kids and a bird. And if you hear her peeping every now and then, she gets jealous. I've also been a counselor for over 30 years. I worked for the state of Kansas for 14 years as a mental health therapist and also in my own private practice for 20. And now I've joined the online journey. So this is our first step in that.
Yeah. So we're excited. This is our first webinar, if you haven't figured that out. And we're really excited to get started and to see where this goes. We're starting with a base and we're looking to see how it just kind of organically grows from there. So we're really excited for that. So the reason that we're doing this webinar is because both of us, I was a stay-at-home mom, a lot of times, quote unquote single mom. I was married and had a husband and everything, but I did a lot of it on my own a lot of the times. Steve, same thing for him. And, we came out the other end. There's a lot of growing and a lot of self-development that needed to be done. I didn't have the resources back then. And so that's why I wanted to do this, because I wanted to basically, for stay-at-home moms now, or single moms, or whoever needs this, to give them the tools and the resources that I wish I had had back then, right? I wish I knew then what I know now, is basically how we're going into this. So I, to give a little background on me, and then I'll let Steve go further into his background, so that you guys can get to know us and get to know what we're all about and why we want to do this. So I met my husband in high school, and we went through college together. I went and got a master's degree in audiology. I worked as an audiologist for a while. Then we had our first son, and I was working part-time. Then we had our second son, and I was working part-time, and it wasn't easy, because my husband at the time traveled all the time. And so I was doing it by myself a lot and trying to figure that all out. And when we made I think it was our third move to Wisconsin, the job market was different. And so I wasn't going to be able to make as much money. And so basically, the time that I spent at work and how much I paid for daycare was going to be basically the same, right?
Right.
But why do that? Because there were the headaches of, oh my, the kids are sick. Now I have to stay home. I have to cancel all my clients. I have to reschedule them. I have to, it was a nightmare whenever that would happen. So I said, let's see if I can stay at home and make this work, which really I kind of wanted to do anyway. And I was lucky enough to be able to stay at home. And, because I always say it's a privilege, but it might be one of the hardest jobs that you do. And
Absolutely.
I think where we get stuck is we don't feel like we can complain about it, right? Because it is a privilege to stay home and it is so rewarding, but it's not always easy. And so I feel like sometimes I felt like a lot of times I was suffering alone, right? And I felt like I just, couldn't complain about things that, I was struggling with. So anyway, so I was able to stay at home. I forgot where I was with this. I totally lost my train of thought when I went off on that tangent where I was going. So I was staying at home anyway. But my biggest thing was this how do I say it? Loss of empowerment, especially in the financial aspect of it, because I wasn't bringing income into the family finances, and so I felt like I really didn't have a say. And that made me feel very unempowered, very controlled by money. And it was very uncomfortable feeling. And when my marriage went south, it's a really uncomfortable feeling because I hadn't worked for a long time and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I didn't have any money. And where was I going to go from there? So for a long time, I felt trapped. which is not a good feeling either.
Mhm.
And that's a huge reason why I'm doing this, because I want women to be able, women, men, I don't care, to be
Right.
able to feel empowered, be confident, set something up for their future. There are ways to work and do things to earn an income while you are a stay-at-home mom. It's not always easy in the beginning when the kids are real little, but as they start to go to school longer during the day and things like that, definitely you can build something for yourself. And I wish I would have had that opportunity back then to have a good option. So, but anyway, um, that's enough about me. I mean, I think you get a general idea of why I'm here and why I want to do this. Let's hear from Steve real quick.
Cool. Well, I'll say this right off the bat. As we go along, we're going to share. That's because that's what about relationships are, and that's what this whole journey is about sharing our experiences. Um, Me, yeah, my wife and I, we met in college. We dated for 4 years and got married, and we did everything, by the book. It's we planned everything, got a house, old farmstead, restored it together, and we started having kids. We had 3 kids, and men with the practice. I was working for the state of Kansas, and then I started my private practice. And again, we were all unified in all this. And then we actually we expanded the practice and bought a building, and had a huge vision, and she was on board with that. But that's when we really started separating out. I was always the hands-on dad from the very beginning when the kids were babies all the way up. I was a cook. I cleaned. I feel like I'm not trying to diss her, but I brought those things in because those are the things that I was given when I was raised. I always say we have tools that we get from our parents or whoever raised us. We bring those things in and we do the best we can out of love, even though it might be wrong. It might be a negative tool. It might be something wrong, but we're still doing it the best we can out of love. So, and that's where I give grace to my ex because, about halfway through our marriage, she started going off in another direction. And you don't see it at the time. And I'm sure you're the same way, Betsy, where you have this vision, you have this agreement, and then life kind of starts happening, and that becomes your normal. Okay. And okay, well, we're not really connecting, but that's okay. We both love our kids. We'll be here. We'll do this for the kids. We all of a sudden that vision starts changing, and we don't know it. It's so subtle. And then years later, you start doing this and you realize that you're out here like this and you're going, holy moly, what are we doing here? And that's when I think a lot of the marriages will start to fall, or we get distracted. We start looking for that feeling in other places. To me, that's where affairs happen. That's where divorce that's where all these kind of things happen, is when we get out this far. So, um, so yeah, I mean, probably halfway through my marriage, my wife at the time kind of started distancing herself from me and from the kids and everything. So I was pretty much for the last 10, 15 years of my marriage, I was a single dad, running a practice, coming home, cooking, cleaning, playing with the kids. It's pretty much a single dad in a relationship or in a marriage. So that's kind of where I came into it. And again, once the divorce happened, losing everything, starting completely over. So again, it's I think it's about what I want to bring into this as well is how do we learn from those trials, or how can we learn from the things that we're going to be talking about in here so we can make sure we're not repeating. Okay. And we can be a resource to anyone out there, female or male, in these situations that can sit here and say, I don't want to go down that path, or wow, that sounds very familiar. What can we do about that? We want to be a support. We want to be a resource for you all. So again, you're gonna over our time here, over the future webinars, you're gonna know a lot about us because that's what we're about. No BS. We just say it like it is. And being honest, being open, and being vulnerable is the way to build any kind of relationship or any kind of community. And that's what we want to build here.
I suppose for maybe some people who haven't heard it before, how we came up with the title is no BS, because we were talking one day and Steve said, you're a lot like me. Like I cut through the BS, just tell it like it is, right? And I said, well, that's the name of it right there. I said, it's no BS with Betsy and Steve.
Yes.
Yes.
Yay.
Yeah. Or wherever you are. Sorry, Steve. I don't know where you are.
Yeah. I'm here somewhere.
Him. Yeah. So that's how we came up with the name. I guess we should have explained that in the beginning, but it's good now. But yeah, no, I think you you really touched on something that we're going to get into deeper, and that is that relationship between you and your spouse, because there are so many things that cause you to do this, right? Because you're coming from two totally different places. And
Right.
I would love to see it from the man's perspective, or whoever works, right? I mean, it could be the stay-at-home dad and the
Right.
working mom, etc. But whoever's working during the day outside the house comes home and has a completely different vision perspective of what's going to happen than that person who's been sitting in that house all day with those kids, right?
Right.
And it's funny how I think so many couples don't talk about it, right? I mean, it's just, and like you said, all of a sudden it just becomes this quiet wall, right?
Right.
And you just go along your business, right? It's like, okay, like you said, we both love the kids, we both will, do our duties to the kids, and whatever, and we lose that original relationship that we started with before the kids came along. So I think if we could understand better, where each person's coming from, because I know that there's a lot of resentment that builds up.
Hmm.
And part of that, and we talked about this, Steve and I were chatting yesterday, comes from not living our authentic self, you know, that we have these expectations that we get from social media, TV, movies, just society in general, of what our role should be, either as the person that works or the person that stays home with kids. And we try to live up to something that maybe isn't something we can do. And then we beat ourselves up about it. And, we don't give ourselves grace when we're supposed to give ourselves grace. Um,
Right.
because honestly, a lot of moms, I know, don't talk about the dark stuff. I'm going to be completely honest. There are times when you're home with those kids all day, and they start fighting, or the baby starts crying again, and
Hmm.
literally, you just, I mean, you want nothing more. You love them to death. I mean,
Absolutely.
my lord, you love those kids more than anything in the whole world, but you just want to run out of the house screaming, you
Yep.
know and sometimes you have to hold your temper in, right? You spend a lot of
Absolutely.
time during the day trying to control your temper, and you're exhausted at the end of the day.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, you can tell me, like, how so when you worked, right, when the beginning of the
Right.
marriage, whatever. So how
Right.
did you feel when you came back through the door at the end of the day? Like, what was your expectation?
Oh, absolutely. Well, and again, you've got you over here with the kids all day, like my wife. We decided the same thing. I would rather have. I grew up in a home where my mom stayed home. The beaver cleaver, June cleaver stuff. And that's what we raised up with. Okay. But yeah, she's at home with the kids all day long, and I'm over here working all day long. Okay, and if you don't have that communication, then I could be over here going, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait to get home." And I did this. I'm going, you know what? I need to mow. Okay, I need to mow. So I'm sitting there going, wow, I have a reason to sit there and go out. And I just can't go out there for myself. I have to put some purpose or productivity behind it so I can justify that I get to go mow.
The
Which
mowing,
actually it's,
the mowing. Oh my lord.
you
It would
know,
drive me crazy when I was younger with kids, and I would hear these men talking. They're like, "Oh yeah, I got to mow the lawn, right?" Well,
yeah,
when I started mowing the lawn, I'm like, "This is a
yeah,
getaway." I'm like, "It's like a vacation out here." I'm like, "This is,
absolutely.
oh my god!" It was such a conspiracy. All these men acting like it was this hardship.
Oh
They're
no.
sitting on their John Deere tractor, just like, they got a beer in the cup holder. It's like,
I
are you
I
kidding me?
I just pissed off a lot of guys right now, I think, because I gave the big secret of I'm doing work for the family, because that's
Right.
what you hear all the time. Okay. And all my years of counseling, you get those things that are passed down. And I would have guys in the sessions, I'd be sitting there going, okay, what's your definition of a healthy marriage? Or what is your job as a husband? And he goes, they're like, my job is to provide for my family, Steve. That's my job, and I work hard, and I work hard. So when I come home, I don't think I should have to clean. I shouldn't have to do this, because wow, number one, that's how you were raised and that's what you saw. But number two, you're also putting out your definition of a healthy you might be what your dad was doing, of sitting here coming home and doing that. But is that what your joint vision is between you and your wife? You see, is that doing the best for your family? Is that doing best for your relationship? Well, let's ask her. I come over here to the woman over here. She goes, no, I work all day. Goes, you don't work, I bring home the money. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. We put those value on what we're doing. And then the woman's over here not getting the value of staying home, which I always say the most important job is the woman's. Or whoever that stay-at-home parent is. Okay. In this case, if it is a woman, that's the most important job because she is taking care of the most precious things in my life is my kids. Okay.
Right.
So I put value on that over here. Yeah, I'm providing the income and everything, but why are we doing it? For the family? Or if I can just break it down to this, what is the bigger vision for what we're trying to accomplish here? See, and that's really where that communication has to come in, right?
Yep.
Of what are we working for here? And as you go through life, because life happens, and I always say this, we're going to have firsts in everything we do. So when I had my first kid, guess what? I've never had a kid before. Now I can read What to Expect When You're Expecting and all those books and everything. But I tell you what, not until you get into it, you're going to know what you need to do, correct?
Right.
So guess what? You're going to make good choices and you're going to make bad choices. That's life.
Yep. And I
And if
think
you don't, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think you just segued into our topic of the day perfectly because the topic of the day is stay-at-home mom a job?
Yes.
And I put a Facebook post out there asking that question. And I'm happy to say that most of the responses I got, most of the comments were positive. I did get a couple men that chimed in and really degraded that whole job as a stay-at-home mom down to nothing but playing with kids. And I can't remember what it was, but it was comical as to his vision. At
It's
least for me,
actually
it was
sad.
comical.
Actually, it's sad.
Yeah. And it's so short-sighted. And I mean, I've learned to just kind of brush that stuff off and say, like, he has insecurities and things that he needs to work with. I'm not gonna, be too troubled by it. But um my point is I think most people realize when the question is asked that yes, I have to answer yes, stay-at-home mom is a job. But I don't know that that is the general consensus, even amongst stay-at-home moms,
Right.
because our society is so geared toward defining a job as something that makes money, right?
Right. Right.
That if you're not making money, you're not, it's a volunteer position, right? Um, and and it really is a job. And maybe we should call it something other than a job. Maybe we let job be something where you make money and we call this something else. I don't know, whatever it is, but let's call it a job for now. Actually, there are statistics out there, and I think right now, depending on what area of the country you're talking about, it's valued at like $180,000 a year, something 160, $180,000 a year is what a stay-at-home mom is valued at. That if you were to replace whoever
Right.
the stay-at-home parent is, that's what you would pay for services. That might be a little overinflated. I don't know. But let's put it this way, there is a value. I remember the kids were young and the life insurance agent came over and said, to my husband, do you have life insurance on yourself? Yeah, well, of course, because if I die, I'm the breadwinner. Okay. Well, do you have life insurance on Betsy? Why would I have life insurance on her? And he looked him right in the eye and he said, what do you do for work? And he's like, well, I'm a regional sales manager. Do you travel? Yeah, I travel 3-4 days a week. A week. He was gone about 50% of the day or 50% of the month, right? I think I counted it one time. He was gone for like 15, 16 days or something like that, right? So he said, so are you going to change jobs or what are you going to do? And even if you did change a job, these kids aren't in school. So you got to get a nanny coming every day. So you're going to have to pay for that. And are you going to be doing all the, grocery shopping and the running to, taking the kids to their doctor's appointments and everything else? And he said, honestly, you're going to have a live-in nanny with, how your life is right now. And do you realize how much that would cost? And he quickly got life insurance for me,
Right.
realizing, what
Right.
are you going to do? I mean, short of having your mother come live with you or something like that, right? You
Right.
know, so yeah, so it's really interesting. It is a job. Super rewarding, super important, because you are in control of producing a child into society, a grown
Right.
adult into society that is going to be a good person, that's going to be successful, that's going to contribute to society in a positive way. That's a that's a huge undertaking, a huge
Sure.
undertaking.
So if I would sit here and say for our viewers, if I would just ask this one question, I would say, well, if you're wondering what Betsy's saying or what I'm saying, or if you know if you're looking ahead of, wow, could that be us down the road or whatever, the simple thing to do would say, why don't you define today what your value is as a mom? Okay. I give people permission, okay, to actually think outside the box, outside those parameters, outside society, outside those tools in our toolbox that we're bringing in, both good and bad. And I sit there and go, you tell me, what do you want? Okay. So when they do that, then I can say, okay, now share that with your spouse, your partner, whoever, and sit there and see if you guys line up. It's very simple. Either you're going to have this deep conversation, or the guy's going to blow you off. No, that's not work, whatever. But at least you have a starting point of sitting and going, oh man, we're out here like this. I didn't realize that. Why? Life happens. You know, kids happen, distractions happen. So, you know, I'll get to that later. I'll get to that later. Oh, we're on the same page. Oh, we had a fun weekend. So therefore we're back, or whatever, but not really, because the vision is not stable. When I'm in counseling, I'll sit here and I'll ask people, I'll ask a couple individually, I say, okay, your homework is this. You go off and define what a healthy marriage is, and so do you. But you do not talk about it till you come sit in the session with me. And then once we do that, I sit back and listen. So he reads this and she reads this, and then we find where we connect. Okay, but there's these other things that we aren't connecting on. It's like, oh, I didn't know you wanted. Oh, I didn't know you want to do that. So we really find out what are those things that we connect on, and what are the things we're starting to go apart. Because if I have a thing I call the tightrope of life, and I say when our kids are walking this tightrope is like 100 feet off the ground. So I always ask, what do you want underneath you in case you fall? Everybody says they want a net, right? So when the kid falls off in first grade, hey, somebody pulled my um, pigtails, or I flunked a test, or somebody called me a booger head, and it hurt. So they're falling. Well, what's underneath is the safety net, and that's mom and dad. That's that net. You catch them. Hey, it's okay, honey. Here's what we do. We got you. Get back up, go to school again. Well, the problem with that, if we don't have a shared vision, over time, that safety net, mom and dad start doing this number, and that safety net gets further and further out. Now, when the kids fall, yeah, mom might catch them, dad might catch them, or there's a heck of a lot of cement that they just hit the ground. How many times do kids come home and you then come say, hey, how was your day? And they say, what? Fine.
Fine, good.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Or maybe you get a grunt. If
Yeah,
they're a teenage boy, you get a grunt.
yeah. And then they go off and they're on these phones doing this number, and who knows where they're at and what they're doing. So we lose that connection when we lose that vision of what a healthy marriage is, or what that safety net is. So if we can have some unification on the productivity of what is a healthy mom look like, and a healthy dad look like, and a healthy marriage look like, and how do we come and we honor and support each other? Like, the man's going to be over there working hard. Okay, it goes back to the thing, when you're with the kids, they're tired all day. Well, maybe the guy's tired too. How do you sit there and you connect with each other, sit there and you're going, man, I've had it. Even if you sit there and go, about time you got home, these kids are driving me crazy, and that's okay to do that sometimes. But maybe he needs it. Maybe he needs a set to go, oh man, honey, I am so thankful for all the hard work that you're doing for us and the kids here. I really appreciate that. And at that point, he's probably sitting there going, wow, well, how was your day? Well, the kids was really hard. It was really hard. They were sick and they were throwing up. I had to clean the puke 5 times. They're going, oh my gosh, honey, you're probably tired. So, hey, what can I do to support you? Well, I was wanting to support you. Boom, boom. You know, if we have that communication and we have that joint vision of what are we trying to accomplish here.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. Because so when you were talking about that net being open, right? That parents not coming together,
Right.
what that reminds me of is what I always say to people about disciplining kids, you can call it, or giving them boundaries, right? Um, I come from the mindset that kids shouldn't just be allowed to be completely free to discover their world, right? Because in my perspective, they need boundaries because that's safety for them, right?
Absolutely.
Without boundaries, and we all have boundaries as adults. We have boundaries. There's laws, there's policemen, there's, whatever.
Sure.
Um, but so when it's that same thing where it creates insecurity and anxiety, right? So if they feel like the parents aren't on the same page, and it doesn't have to be that the parents are fighting, you can
Right.
just feel it, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
there's just an
Absolutely.
energy, and I think the kids end up with anxiety. We have so many kids with anxiety, right?
Right.
And so many kids with depression. Yeah, so I think that's really important. And I wanted to mention that I can talk. At the end of this, tomorrow you'll be getting an email with a workbook in it. So you'll get the replay and the workbook. And this workbook really is geared around helping you as a stay-at-home parent find your worth, right? So really sit down and think of what you're worth. So we've been talking today about the relationship with your spouse. But this is going to be just about you. But I think the helpful thing about it is that it's really going to open up and help you think about what maybe you need to discuss with your spouse. Maybe something that, you haven't been completely honest with, even with yourself about. And I think it's going to be good. So I always say that when you're going through these workbooks, and you're supposed to write down your feelings or whatever, do not write them down as if somebody's going to read them. Write them down as if you're the only person that's ever going to see it. I think I myself am guilty of this, where I have done journaling, right? And it's not been the most truthful journaling, okay? Because in the back of my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, if somebody read this, what would they think,
Right.
right? So then I hold back, or, I make it sound better than it actually is. And that's not what you want. You want to write this. And even, I was telling Steve this yesterday, even if you write it down, you crumple it up and you throw it away, you burn it in the fire pit, or you type it out on your computer and press delete, you got it out, you said you let yourself go there. And I think that's the important thing, is that we need to start really, again, we talk about that, living in your authentic self, really
Right.
being truthful with yourself, even the ugliest thoughts. I mean, I'm going to be honest. When my kids were young, I went through, it was the first time I had ever gone through bouts of depression. And it was the craziest thing. It's like living in a fog, and it's, that you need to ask for help, but you can't even do that. Like, there was a
Mm.
part of me that knew I was depressed and that I should ask for help, but I didn't even know how to do it. And
Right.
so on my hardest days, because again, my husband was traveling a lot, I was by myself. There was that isolation, that depression, that everything, whatever.
Right.
And there were days that, this is ugly thoughts for a mom, I wanted to get in my car. I lived in Colorado at the time, and I don't know why New Mexico was where I wanted to go. It was straight south. I was going to New Mexico. Um, so yeah, it was funny. I would get these like, oh God, if only I could just drive to New Mexico. I'll come back eventually, I think. But yeah, I mean, and these are the things that we never talk about with people.
Right.
I mean, can you imagine if I went to coffee with, one of the gals from preschool and said, oh yeah, I think all the time about just getting in my car and driving to New Mexico. She'd be like, well, I'm not going to be friends with you anymore. I mean,
Right.
um, you're a little bit crazy.
You're not
Um,
going to babysit my kids.
but but these are the things that we need to be honest about, and
Absolutely.
and I think it helps. I mean, you being the counselor, the therapist, you tell me. I mean, writing it down, I just feel
Yeah.
like it's a
And see,
start.
yeah, everything you just said there, we can diagnose, and that's my whole thing. Is my whole shtick is challenging traditional mental health, because I'm not into diagnosing, I'm not into labeling, I'm not into medicating. I'm about getting things done. I heard what you said. I was depressed. Why? No, you were tired. That's the first thing I would say. People come in all the time. They'll sit there and go, oh my God, see, my depression came back terribly. And I said, well, what happened last week? What happened? And they start rattling all this stuff off. And I said, okay, let me just repeat back what I just heard. So I rattled back everything and they're going, uh-huh, uh-huh. I said, you sound tired to me. Well, I am, damn it. I'm really tired. I'm going, is that depression or is that tired? Well, I'm tired. Okay. See, so you look at that, but see, now we get to bring in these other things that says, you're tired, Betsy. You got all these kids, you got the husband who's gone all the time or half the time, and he doesn't really value you and your whatever. So you're sitting there going, huh, wow, marriage vows, till death do you part. Ah, I get to do this for the next, oh geez, these kids are this old. I've done the 15 years of this. Shit. Sorry. Can I say that here?
Sure.
Yeah.
I give you permission. I love swearing.
Well, no, and again, I say that even in my therapy. I'm not a big cusser, but the point is, that's how you feel in that moment. You're going, holy crap, I have to do this till death do us part. Or if we're tied to religion, religion says you can't get divorced, you got to do this, or God will be mad at you, or whatever. And it's like, whoa, time out. Now we're putting all this pressure, the external pressure on us here to sit here and saying, I can't keep doing this. Now what do we got? Anxiety and depression. Huh. Let's go back to what we were talking about earlier. What do you want? You see, first you need a break. I want to go to New Mexico. Just guess what? Nobody knows I'm here. There's no mom. There's no this. There's no bills. There's no nothing. I just get a break. And see, this is where systematically you're going down the path. And I'm not saying you went there, but if you would have went longer, this is where suicidal ideations and stuff come in. Because if you can't get away here, people nowadays, suicide's rampant. And they'll sit there and going, that's my way out.
Yeah,
So
they
I'm
feel
sitting there going,
trapped.
exactly, because you feel trapped.
Mm-hmm.
Because of those past things, those expectations, whatever. But if we sit here and write this stuff down like you're talking about, okay, totally authentic in that moment, it may not look very pretty, but right now you're bold enough to put that stuff down to say, oh my gosh. Now, here's where I kick everybody. I do a gut shot or whatever when I hit people and say, if you're a parent, you're watching this stuff right now and you're hiding behind that mask, ask yourself this question: what tools am I passing on to my kids? And that's exactly what we're going to pass on to our kids if we do not deal with it today. So I could sit here and people can be, we come in here, yeah, but Steve, this isn't fair. My husband's not doing this. My wife's not doing this. And I'm sitting there playing my little violin, because why be in a victim mode when we can do something about it and we can make choices? Again, that's what this webinar is about. That's what my programs are about. That's what Betsy's services are about. That's what we're about, is to try to help people say there are resources. There are people who've been there, done that. I fell hard. I mean, you'll know about this. I lost everything after my divorce. I mean, everything. I always say I was a hands-on parent, had a place out in the country. It was amazing. I had a dirt bike track. We were on dirt bikes and outdoor adventures, a pool. I had a shop. We were working on vehicles with my boys, rebuilding things. I lost everything. I lost my building. I lost the practice. I had debt, no money, and a 1996 Ford Explorer and a 2000, no, it was a 1986 dirt bike and some random tools. I truly had nothing, but I wouldn't take any of that back. I learned so much from that trial. So I'm not sitting here as a victim saying, poor Steve. I'm sitting there going, no, I had choices in here, but I always say this. I think I said this to you yesterday, Betsy, when you get up here in these new seasons and you're looking at yourself down here, remember I would say, do I have the words FOOL tattooed on my forehead? Because that's how you feel when you look down on yourself going, holy crap, Steve, I didn't see it. Well, you didn't see it because you didn't know. You were in the valley. Now you're on the mountaintop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what we're about here, is to provide that mountaintop view and the services and supports in the community to be able to help anyone really look at their lives and ask yourselves, what's the best version of you? Because I guarantee you, if you're the best version of yourself, you're going to be the best wife, the best mom, the best whatever. And same thing over here. If you're the best version of yourself as a man, you're going to be the best husband, the best father. See, it starts with you. If you're not healthy, they're not healthy.
Yeah. No, absolutely, at 100%. And that's why I wanted to do it. That's my biggest reason. But let's ask the audience if
Hmm.
there's anybody that wants to chime in with struggles that you're having, thoughts, uh, of things that you would like to address. Any thoughts on things we've said today? You agree, disagree? Feel free to chime in at any time. We've got about 9 minutes left here.
Gosh, that went quick.
I know.
You get Betsy and I talking. We do this all the time, and we'll be talking about something, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, we've been talking for an hour. What the heck, you know?
Yeah. that may have been when we said we should record ourselves.
Exactly. We knew how to do that, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Technically impaired we are.
Yes.
But we're here. It's working as far as I can tell so far.
Right.
We're doing pretty good. But yeah, so I just want to say before we go, just a real quick way to get in touch with us. I think Steve, you put it in the chat, right?
Yes. I put
Okay.
our websites in the chat.
Websites or emails or one or the
Oh, I
other.
put websites. I thought,
No, I think you put my email.
oh, that's my
Doesn't
website.
matter. Uh,
I'll put my
Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, yeah, no, it's support. You forgot support. Hold on, let me.
oh,
Yeah, I can. Are you gonna type it in or should I?
it's support
Support at
at Betsy.
betsyflorence.com.
Gotcha. I'll do that right
Yep.
now.
Yep. Yeah, my website is under construction right now, so I'm just
Ah,
gonna have people email me with any questions. Or again, I mean, that's a great place if you're, feeling shy during, getting
absolutely.
chiming in during the webinar. Go ahead and email me and let me know what you think. Any thoughts, any concerns, any questions? We are here for you. There you go. Support at betsyflorence.com. Yeah, perfect. And then yours is your uh,
There's my
website.
email. The one above that's actually my website.
Yep, perfect, perfect.
Each
Okay,
each each will get you there. So
yeah. So there's going to be many more of these. And so we're always looking to basically see what you guys want, right?
right.
We have an agenda. We know where we want to go with this, but we are very open to kind of letting it evolve as it will, per the needs of the audience too. So
Right.
so yeah. So this first one is really about let's talk about our worth as stay-at-home parents. I think in the future we're going to get into kind of the nitty-gritty of why, I think if we just even talk about a relationship, why do those relationships start to crumble, right? And I think a lot of it is because of isolation issues, feeling isolated at home, depression, health and wellness. I was thinking about this because I don't know if you guys noticed, but Steve works out from time to time, and he was doing something with his arms before, and he was like basically flexing his arms, and I was laughing because I was going to stop him, but he was in such a role. But yeah, health and fitness is such a huge thing. As stay-at-home parents, we let that go, right? Because it's one of those things where you know how everybody always says, because being a personal trainer, I've heard this a million times, right? Well, I don't have time. Yeah, but you had time to watch a half-hour program on TV. You had
Right.
time to, whatever. You always have time. It's the desire and the energy, right? That starts to go by the wayside. Because for me, it was like by the time I wanted to go work out, I was tired. I didn't feel like it, whatever. And so I didn't do it. And then it becomes this vicious cycle of, well, now I feel so poorly about myself. I don't even want to step into a gym, right? I
Hmm.
just feel fat and flabby and whatever else. And so it's just this terrible cycle, right? And so how do we break that cycle? How do we find the time? How do we find the energy? How do we find the motivation? And we're going to be touching on this because for both of us, health and fitness is a huge part of our lives.
Right.
I believe, and I believe Steve feels the same way, that health and fitness is huge on your psyche, right?
Absolutely.
When we talk about depression, anxiety, and all those other things, a lot of that can be what I'm not going to say cured by health and fitness, but definitely can be helped by health and fitness. So yeah, that's going to be, you know. So Steve, real quick before we go, tell them what you do with your sons, because this is so cool. This is what's so cool about like maintaining a good relationship with your kids, making sure that you are the best person that you can be so that you have a good relationship with your kids, because what do you get to do these days?
Oh, what don't I get to do with my kids? No, my kids and I, we work out at the gym all the time together, and then we do off-road, dirt biking, and those kind of things. So we train for that. My middle son, we actually trained for three physique shows together, and so guess what? We're in the gym all the time. We're spending time together, and we're eating together, and we're it's all about relationship. And see, I was going to piggyback off that real quick. What you're saying, I have um, a whole topic that I could talk to all the women's husbands about how to get in shape and spend time with your kids and be the best rocking dad that you can be and get all your needs met. Because I do this with my clients all the time, because they say, how do you do that? And I say, we can talk about that. We don't have time now, but that's something we could do down the road as a potential if there's interest in it. How do I get my husband more involved with the kids or something? Well,
Yeah,
I got all kinds of win-win things where, hey, honey, you want to break? Guys, let me talk to you. So anyway, that's something we could talk about down the road.
yeah. But I think, and your kids work with you.
Absolutely. In the business,
Yeah,
yes.
they help you with the business and everything. So it's and their ages. Give me their ages.
My daughter, she lives in Scotland. She's with her fiance. She's 30. Matt is 27, and Bailey is 23.
Right. So listen up, people. A lot of kids at 27 and 23 are not hanging out with their parents. And so as parents, we just have to let them go, knowing that we did a good job. We raised them and they're independent now. But what's so awesome is when you can get both, right? You
Yeah,
raise them, they're independent, and they still want to hang out with you and spend time with you.
that's
There's
absolutely.
really nothing better in the entire world.
Nah, no. Every season is a blast. I love babies. I love kids, and I love every season my kids are at. But man, being their friend, being their buddy, but then also they still need. I love it when they'll sit there, hey, Pops, what's up? Steve-O, what's up? And say, what's up? And then all of a sudden they might sit there and going, hey, Dad, can I run a question by you? So all of a sudden the dynamic changes. I'm dad again. Right now we're friends. But here's the cool part. It's great because I'm over here. Hey, Caitlin Matthew Bailey, can I ask you a question? Because I need your advice.
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome place to be.
Yep, absolutely. So that's why we're here. That's why we're doing what we're doing, so that you can end up in the same place that we are, and just healthy relationships with your kids, hopefully staying with your spouse, but if not, also working your way through that too, co-parenting if you
Right.
if you separate, huge
Right.
thing for the kids. So anyway, we have 1 minute left. Is there anything else? Let me look on my reminders here. Oh, join the Facebook group. We do have a Facebook group called No BS with BS. I don't have that link to put in the chat right now, but I know for sure it's in the emails. So check your emails, and we'll find the list of attendees and send it out to you guys, because I think that Facebook group is going to be huge. We can continue conversations there, and we can keep everybody up to date on what's going on and when the next webinar is going to be and all that other good stuff.
Right on.
So, all
Well, it's
right.
been a pleasure. I have really enjoyed this. I can't wait to meet everybody out there and tell everybody else about what we're doing here. We'd love to have you here, watch the replay. But please reach out to us and give us any kind of feedback of what the things that you want to work on. And again, going back to my counseling, that's the first thing I ask in any counseling session. I always ask, where are we at today? Where do you want to go? Because I mean, I got things I can talk about, but why would they want to talk about this when they want to talk about that? So please let us know, and we'll jump in right there with you.
Yep, I think it's great. All right, well, we are going to. Oh, look at us! It's 1:45 exactly. Bam.
Boom.
Okay. All right. So goodbye for now from No BS with BS. We will see you guys next time.
See y'all.
Good one.